Good to see you
First,
too.
investors taking the latest development in Ukraine in their stride.
Yeah, global stocks, they've been trading higher after a speech by Russia's President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. He outlined why he believes Russia's annexation of Crimea isn't illegal. He also said Russia would not seize more of Ukraine, which eased market concerns of an escalation of the Ukrainian crisis. The American markets closed this Tuesday in positive territory, as you can see right here, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average gaining around 0.5%, the Nasdaq gaining 1.25%. It followed not only Putin's speech, but also encouraging signs on the state of the US housing market. Let's talk you through the European close, because in Europe too, we saw markets closing higher on the back of Putin's comments. Germany's DAX index was higher by around about 0.7%. This even as a reading of German economic sentiment plunged on fears of the economic fallout from the Ukraine crisis. Now, there's been a slew of international protests in reaction to Russia's annexation of Crimea, and Western powers, they've threatened to slap more sanctions on Moscow. Here in France, Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius has threatened to cancel the delivery of 2 warships. France struck a €1.2 billion military deal with Russia back in 2011. The cancellation of the delivery could endanger around 1,000 jobs in a French shipyard, and Fabius said that France would only cancel the contract if other European countries also take action and slap new sanctions on Russia. Let's move on to another story now. The chief executive of General Motors says she's very sorry for the loss of life in connection with a faulty ignition. Mary Barra has also conceded that it took too long before 1.6 million vehicles were recalled to fix the issue last month. At least 12 deaths have been linked to the fault. Claire Murphy has more details.
Things were just starting to look up for the US car industry and General Motors in particular, but a growing scandal is casting a long shadow over recent success. On Monday, the new CEO delivered a video message to employees, updating them on the company's handling of a faulty ignition switch. It's accepted has been linked to 12 vehicle deaths.
In each case, we have pledged to cooperate fully while we work to make the recall itself as smooth as possible for our customers. These are serious developments that shouldn't surprise anyone. After all, something went wrong with our process in this instance, and terrible things happened.
6 models carried the faulty switches which could turn off the engine and disable airbags. It's seen 1.6 million vehicles recalled last month. In a further setback, 3 separate recalls on a similar scale were announced this week. General Motors has now appointed an executive to oversee vehicle safety, but the negative publicity will be harder to manage. America's Centre for Auto Safety claims it has established that 2 of the models affected by the faulty switches can be linked to over 300 deaths. The group stresses the company knew there was a problem for a decade and is demanding a $1 billion compensation fund be set up for the victims.
Okay, here are a few other stories that we're keeping our eyes on for you. New car sales in the European Union rose in February for a 6th consecutive month. An industry body for car makers says sales, they were up 8% in comparison to February last year. Car sales, they're seen as a key measure of economic health. Experts caution from reading too much into the increased sales, though, since they remain close to historic lows last year. Germany's Constitutional Court has given the Eurozone's bailout fund the green light. Its rejected complaints to the European Stability Mechanism amounted to an illegal transfer of power from Berlin to Brussels. It removes a question mark for the €700 billion fund that's been put in place to deal with future debt crises. And music streaming services had a stellar 2013 with their annual sales topping $1 billion for the first time. The likes of Spotify and Deezer saw revenues grow by 51% last year to $1.1 billion. Music streaming services provide songs for a monthly subscription fee. The figures come from the International Federation of Phonographic Industry. I got it right in the end. For the music industry as a whole, sales they were down 3.9% to $15 billion. Okay, that is the business news for now, and I'm going to pass it off back to Mark.
Marcus Carlson, as ever, very much in tune with everything in the business world. Good to see you, sir. Time now to bring in James Creedon.